Your attitude can make or break a dating situation or a relationship. It can make a guy want to run away from you, or it can make him want to run towards you. It can make you stand out from the crowd, or it can make you seem like you're like all the other women that are out there. It can make him feel like he's bored with being around you, or it can make him feel addicted or even obsessed with thinking about you and being around you and wanting to be connected with you. Your mindset is very, very important when it comes to dating and being in a relationship with a man and keeping him attracted to you and making him fall in love with you and making him want to be around you. And we'll talk about why and exactly what kind of a mindset you want to have just here in this video right now. My name's Matthew Coase, and welcome to my channel. If you are ready to learn some amazing mindsets that will make a man want to be closer to you and feel like you're just the most amazing woman that he's ever met in his life, say yes in the chat and let's get started. Okay, so 5 mindsets. So what this all boils down to is this. Men, when they're around you, they're not going to remember everything that happens. They're not going to remember everything that's said. They're not going to remember everything. They will remember one thing though, and that's how you make him feel when he's around you. And so it's very important that if you want him to feel like he wants to be around you more often, that you connect with him in a way that makes him feel really good when he's around you. And so how do you do that? Let's talk about the mindsets. Mindset number 1 is having fun. This is an attitude of just being a positive source of emotion for him. So don't think that you're the only one that should be fun, right? Like, you want to both have fun on both sides of the table, right? A lot of times women come to me and they're like, why do I have to be the one doing all the stuff? Well, you shouldn't want to be with a guy that's not also attractive and interesting and doing all these things, right? You should only want to be with a guy who is doing those things and creating a positive environment with you, because if you both aren't creating positive emotions within each other, what's going to happen is it's going to destroy the relationship from the inside out. So there's a company out there called the Relationship Research Institute, and they are one of the forefront leaders on doing relationship research in tons of different areas of dating and relationships. And they've determined very, very accurately how to figure out if a couple is going to stay together or break up. And what they found is that you need 5 times as many positive interactions as negative ones, minimum. That's the minimum amount if you want to stay together as a couple long term. And if you drop below that, they have determined that your relationship will end. And so you want to have great positive emotions when you're around each other. Having fun and being playful is really how you trigger love. Love is not, it's not boring, it's not cold, it's not arguments, it's not, trying to create reactions in him so that he'll give you attention. It's none of those things. It's being playful with each other and connecting with each other and having fun with each other. Being cold and fighting is how you destroy the love that exists. So the best way to do this is to start within yourself. So get in the habit of finding things that you can appreciate. Because sometimes we have women, they're like, well, I'm just in this bad attitude and all these things. And a lot of those things, like if you do it a lot, we get into habits where we live in kind of emotional states all the time. And so a lot of people, they'll live in angry states, or they'll live in resentful states, or they'll live in depressed states. And that's not who they are. It's just a pattern that they're in. And so look at your life and what kind of emotions you feel on a regular basis and determine if that's how you want to live your life. And if it's not, then break that pattern and create a new pattern. And one of the best ways to do that is to start with appreciation and just appreciating things about yourself initially. That's one of the best things to do, is find things that you appreciate and you value about yourself. The best definition I've heard about appreciation comes from economics, and it says to raise the value of something. And so when you raise the value of something, you start enjoying it immediately. And so you want to appreciate yourself. You want to raise the value of yourself to yourself. That way you start enjoying yourself. You start loving yourself. You start caring more for yourself. You want to start appreciating your life, start appreciating the moments and the little experiences that you have in your life. Because there's so many great things going on, and there's so many challenges in the world. And the world is constantly trying to grab our attention and focus us on the negative things. But in reality, there's so many things that we could feel blessed for. Just right now, being connected to each other right here on the internet, being able to talk to each other and learn from each other, and just all this technology and our ability to connect with other people and learn how to be better people and just everything. There's so many things that we can be grateful for: the connections and the friends and the family that we have, our connections to ourselves, our ability to learn and be intelligent, and so many different things. I'm not going to run off on a tangent of that, but just break the old patterns. If you have negative patterns that are keeping you stuck in negative mindsets, break those and add positive patterns that help you connect. So if you're here with us right now, say hi in the chat and let us know where in the world you're watching this from. It's cool to see so many women from all over the world watching these live streams. So number 2, let's talk about mindset. Number 2 is being interesting. So people pay attention to things that are interesting. If you're interesting to him, he'll pay attention to you and he'll keep paying attention to you. When I was younger, I had the express privilege, I guess I'd call it, of spending time in nightclubs. And you always knew when there was something interesting going on in a nightclub because everybody would turn their heads and start looking at it, right? So we pay attention to things that are interesting. And so you might be thinking now, but Matt, how is this an attitude or a mindset? That's a great question, and let me answer it right now. It's a great way. It's a mindset because you can be interesting by being interested in the topic that you're talking about, or you can be interested in the topic that somebody else is talking about. So just finding topics that you love to talk about, or things that you find interesting, or appreciating the things that you are talking about, and making it more valuable to yourself. Or if he's talking about something, just being curious and appreciating what it is that he's talking about can make you interesting as well, right? Just having this mindset of being interested in things can make you a lot more interesting. Another way to be interesting is to step into your own polarity and pushing him into his polarity. And the most common polarities that we talk about, polarity is a really important thing because it creates passion in a relationship. The more polarity there is there, the more there's like uncertainty, which drives kind of this attention, which creates passion. And so I talk about masculine, feminine polarity because that's one of the most common ones that people want to use in our community, but there are other kinds. But what you want to do if you want to step into your feminine polarity is to just get connected with yourself and your emotions and start responding to what's going on from a feminine place, and allow yourself to start feeling. Just take a moment and just pull yourself out of whatever's going on and just spend a moment just feeling your hands, or feeling the clothing on your skin, or just paying attention to your heartbeat, or just feeling the feelings that are inside your body and just connecting with it, right? That's a great way that you can start getting connected with your emotions and start feeling and responding, and then connecting to a man through that. That's a great way to do that. And shift what you focus on to what you're feeling. Shift your focus to yourself and to what you're feeling, and then connect to a man through that. And it's a really, really powerful way to be interesting, because for guys, when he experiences that and he sees that, it's going to be different than what he normally experiences and sees, especially on a date or in a relationship. And it's really powerful. You can talk to some of the women in our community. being in their feminine has completely changed a lot of women's lives in our community and changed their relationships and recreated passion in the relationship. So it's a really powerful thing to do. Mindset number 3 is confidence. So owning yourself and who you are is the best form of confidence in terms of connecting with a man. And so what are we talking about here? A lot of women come to me talking about how they're like walking on eggshells, right? They're like trying to send the perfect text to him and, am I going to laugh at the right time? Or wait, maybe I shouldn't have laughed right then. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to send that, right? And it's just like, oh my God. And they're scared of doing the wrong thing. And that's the opposite of where you want to be. You want to be in this kind of a carefree kind of mindset, a high value mindset, a pattern of a high value woman, right? And what is that kind of a mindset? It's a mindset of qualification. It's a qualification frame, right? Is he impressing me instead of am I impressing him? Or it's also kind of just owning yourself and just not being worried about impressing him because you know your value and your worth. We've talked a lot about knowing your value and your worth on this channel. So you can watch some of the other live streams or join some of my events or get some of my programs if you're more interested in some of those things. But a woman who is really confident, usually she really just knows her value. She's confident in her value and her self-worth. And part of that is shifting your belief systems, but part of it's also making sure that you know that you're a good catch, right? Part of confidence comes from knowing that you're a good partner to be with in a relationship, not from like a cocky, narcissistic, I don't really believe it, but I'm going to tell myself it all the time kind of a place, but just knowing that you add a lot of value to a man's life and just connecting with him and bringing him value as a human being and just knowing that you have intrinsic value as a human being and connecting through a lot of those things so that instead of trying to impress him and walking on eggshells and trying to send him all the right text messages and stuff, you're coming from a confident place because that's how a high value person does it, right? They come from a confident place. If you go and talk to, rock stars and presidents and people that are in high value positions who know that they're kind of high value people, they're not running around, like constantly questioning whether they're doing the right thing or not. They're confident in what they're doing. Yeah, they want to do the right thing and they're growing themselves and they're developing their skills and abilities and ability to connect with other people and doing the right thing. But they're also confident in their own value and who they are and knowing that they're a worthwhile human being. And that's the place that you should be coming from if you really want to connect with a man in a really powerful way where he sees you as somebody who's different than all the other women that he typically meets in his life. So can you see how being confident might be a great attitude to have when approaching dating or being in a relationship? If you can, type yes in the chat. And let's move on. Number 4 is softness. So softness is kind of this feminine quality that men really, really crave. And the best way to kind of look at it is a lot of women talk to me about masculine strength, right? Like a man being really like a strong man, right? Strong in himself, strong in his body, strong in his beliefs, strong in who he is as a person. Well, that same attraction that you might have for a strong man is what men are attracted to around softness. Right. So when we get around softness, it's like this kind of like thing where we're just, it like kind of just sucks us in and makes us feel just so like, I don't, it's hard to describe, but it's kind of just like almost like two planets, like one being in orbit and just kind of like pulls that other planet in and you're just like sucked into it and you're just like, oh man, I just want to be around this woman. And it's just so interesting. And I love every moment of it. Right. And I've heard guys describe it as, I just want to run over and just, make love to her soul. Right. So that's kind of the thing that you're looking for. Masculinity is hard. Femininity is soft. And so how do you do this from a practical standpoint? One standpoint is touch. This is a really, really powerful one. Actually, my favorite one. My primary love language is physical touch. And so I love touch and touching and everything about touching. I love it. And if you want to touch a man, you can do it in very soft ways and very subtle ways, and just, touching his hand if you're just kind of getting to know each other, or, touching him on his arm, or if you're kind of getting closer to him, or you want to get closer to him, touching him maybe on the back of his head, or, on his neck, or even right here on his chest, and just touching him in soft ways is a really, really powerful thing that you can do with a man. And it connects him to that softness of yours. And it can just make men melt when you're doing that. And so what's another way? Another way is compassion, coming from a space of compassion. So feeling what compassion is really like, feeling for him and where he is and what he's doing and how he is in his life. And so it's kind of a difficult thing to describe in a lot of ways, but what it really is feeling deeper, right? It's going deeper beyond the surface of I'm smiling, you're smiling, we're on a date and everything's happy, and feeling deeper into what's going on, listening for what's not being said and feeling what's not being said. And I know that's going to sound kind of abstract and esoteric, but it's kind of connecting with another person's soul and feeling who they are and what's going on with them. And it's a really powerful way when you kind of learn how to do that. And I've noticed a lot of women can do that. Some women they haven't developed that ability, but it's something that you can do, just connecting with your own emotions and then connecting with what you're feeling around, right? Who are you, like, connecting with the feelings of different things that are around you and just connecting with those things. And if you kind of do it often, you can build it into a habit so that you're doing it more and more, and you can feel it more and more. And it can be really, really powerful in terms of softness and connecting to a man, because when you connect to a man like that, he can drop deeper into his emotions, and then all of a sudden he'll feel like a real soul level connection with you, instead of kind of feeling the surface level connection that he gets with most people in the world 99% of the time in his entire life. And so that can be a really, really powerful way to connect with a man. If you get what I'm talking about, say I get it in the chat. If you don't get what I'm talking about, go ahead and ask any questions you have. I'm going to answer them here at the end of this live stream here. So number 5 is flexibility. So think about dating like a dance. And dating and relationships are like a dance. And just, if you haven't done it before, go and watch partner dancing. Even go to like a live partner dancing event if there's any in your area and things are open right now. Go and just spend some time and just watch people dancing, or watch videos on the internet about people dancing, and just see kind of the interaction of how things are going there. There's almost always, in partner dancing, there's always a leader and there's always kind of this follower. And if he's a masculine man and you want a masculine man, he's going to want to lead, which means that you're going to be following, which doesn't mean that you're not doing anything, or that you let him walk all over you, or any of that kind of stuff, right? And we're going to clarify that here in a second. So how do you create flexibility? Another great question. Glad you're asking it. Let's talk about it here. So focus on what you can control. So a lot of women get upset if things don't go their way. And so they can get really upset about things and then ruin things with a man, ruin the connection with a man by getting really upset. And sometimes this can work if a guy's a really low self-esteem guy and you're getting upset all the time. And he's like, oh, it's like pushing him back and forth through these different emotions, and that can kind of make him obsessed. But if he's a healthy guy, he's going to look at that and be like, I don't want anything to do with that. And it's going to ruin your connection. And usually the reason that a lot of women do this actually stems from insecurities that they have, or feelings of lack of control in their life. And so what you want to start doing is finding where you have control in your life and start focusing. Get it, hyper focus on things that you have control of, and block out everything that you don't have control of. So the world's constantly trying to shove information in our faces about things that we have no control over, like the weather and politics and, who's fighting who and what's going on over there and all these different things. And my suggestion is that you ignore anything that you don't have control over and start focusing in your life on things that you do have control over. And eventually you'll feel a lot more in control, and you won't need to feel like you need to do things to get control if you're in control most of the time. And the other way to do this, if that was a little bit too abstract for you, is here's another abstract idea, is trusting yourself. And if a man's going to lead an interaction, you may not be able to trust him. I'll just go ahead and say that. If you're out there dating, there may be some men that you meet out there that you can't trust, and you don't know if you can trust them or not, especially in the initial stages of dating and before you've really learned what his patterns are and things like that. And so what you want to do instead is start learning to trust yourself, trust your intuition, trust that you will do the right thing. And so it's kind of a process to do that, right? Like learning how to trust your intuition, learning how you interact in different situations, and then figuring out how to trust yourself and the patterns that you're in, or breaking the old patterns you're in and creating new patterns that are healthier that you can trust. And if you're in a place, though, that you can trust yourself, then if a man tries to overstep your boundaries, you can trust that you'll protect yourself. You can trust that you'll do what is in your best interest. You can trust that you won't put yourself into bad situations where you might end up getting hurt or doing something that you'll regret later on. And once you start doing that, you'll start to trust yourself. And then eventually you'll be able to see what's going on with a guy. And over time, you can trust him. And through that entire interaction, you can allow him to lead and you can follow, but at the same time, making sure that you're taking care of yourself and protecting yourself. So again, if you have any questions, ask them in the chat. Also, what's one thing, here's a question that I want you to answer in the chat right now. What's one thing that you want a guy to remember about you after a date? If you go on a date with a guy, what's one thing that you want him to remember about you after the date? And so I'm going to go over the different things we talked about, the 5 different attitudes or mindsets again, and then I will get to your questions. So go ahead and ask them in the chat. And so remember, all this stuff boils down to one thing, and it's men won't remember everything you say, but they will remember how you make them feel. So number 1 is have fun. Number 2 is being present or being interesting. Number 3 is being confident. Number 4 is softness. And number 5 is flexibility. All right. So what kind of questions do we have? Lots of people from all over the world. Rosie appreciates her beautiful eyes. That's a great thing to appreciate there, Rosie. Rosie Rose. Great name. Oh, by the way, also, if I'm having an event this weekend, if you're interested in it, go check out MatthewCoast.com. Go visit MatthewCoast.com. I'm going to start putting my live events on MatthewCoast.com. So if you're interested in them, go check out MatthewCoast.com, and you can join a live event this weekend where we're going to be talking about how to reconnect with a guy who's pulled away or gone cold on you, or even if it's an ex that you have, I'm going to give you a text message sequence to reconnect with a guy. And so I'm also going to be answering questions and stuff, and it's going to be a really, really great event. And it's also a super low cost event. So my suggestion is you go to MatthewCoast.com and check it out. All right, so Ari says, hi, Matthew, love your content. You're the best coach. Well, thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you for saying that. You are awesome as well. Melissa says, gratitude refocuses your mindset. That is absolutely correct. Linda says, absolutely grateful for the internet during this pandemic. Yep. Yep, for sure, huh? For sure. For sure, positive patterns. That's what we want. We want them positive patterns. Wow, there's 400 people on this live stream right now. Hello, everyone. If you have some questions, ask your questions and I will get to them. Melissa says, keeping an abundance of connections and hobbies keeps you interesting. Exactly. Melissa is adding some more content to this live stream. So thank you, Melissa. You're awesome. She says, hard as a single mom, but even reading can be a hobby. Absolutely. Absolutely. Just have things that are going on in your life. Have things that are going on in your life. Felicia says, yes, Matt, it's about the magical moment, enjoying each other's company, having fun. Love your videos. Thank you. Hi, I'm Sylvia from Florida. Thank you for your great videos. You are welcome. Connecting with your feminine. Melissa says, confidence is a game changer. Absolutely. Tamara says, I love your sense of humor, Matthew. You are so funny. Well, thank you. And I love compliments. So if you have any amazing compliments, if you want to tell them to me, I love compliments all the time. So go ahead. Go ahead. And I'm a sucker for compliments. Love, love, love those compliments. Wow, there are so many people. So Maria says, how do we stand our boundaries with softness? Right. That's a great question. And so, boundaries are kind of like the way that you want to think about them from a metaphor standpoint is actually like having a boundary, but like a rubber boundary, right? Like a guy comes in and he's like, oh, is this the place? And you're like, boom, nope. But at the same time, you want to be loving to him, right? You want to let him know that you still like him. And I kind of have this way of doing it, which is, so if a guy is trying to push past your boundary, you let him know. There's a bunch of different ways that you can set boundaries, but one of them is when he's trying to push past your boundary and you just let him know. Like, let's say, for instance, that he's like trying to get you over to he's like, hey, you want to go back to my place and watch a movie right now? And it's like a first date or second date. And you're just like, well, I'm not ready to do that yet. What you want to do, there's two different kinds of ways to reject a guy when he does that. One is kind of what I call a hard rejection, where you're like, no, I'm not interested. Get away from me. You suck, blah, right? And the other one is like a soft rejection, which is like, oh, I'm not yet, I'm not ready yet. That's something I'm interested in, but not yet. And so the way that you communicate that would be something like, hey, I would love to do that in the future, right? You tell them what you want. I'd love to do that at some point here in the future. And then you say, but, I'm not quite ready to do that yet. I still need some, feel like we haven't really gotten to know each other that well. And I feel like I want to know you a lot better before I do that, right? And so you tell them what you need. And then you say, how about we just call it a night and let's get together another day for another date, right? And then you ask him if he agrees to what it is that your boundary is. And that doesn't have to be it, right? Like you could say something else like, hey, I'd love to do that at some point in the future. Sounds like a lot of fun. And, I think you're really attractive. However, I don't want to, hook up with a guy outside of, I have a rule. This is one of my favorite ones. I have a rule that I don't hook up with men outside of a committed relationship, and so what you're doing there is basically you're letting him know that you really like him, but you have this thing that's this boundary that's stopping him from doing it. So you're not hard rejecting him. He's not going to take it as a hard rejection unless he has insecurities in his own mind about himself and his own value, which there's not a whole lot that you can do about that, right? You don't want to tiptoe around a man's insecurities in order to, and let him walk all over your boundaries. So what you want to do is just, be firm but also be soft, right? Also let him know that you like him and all that kind of stuff. And so I hope that makes sense. I hope that makes sense, Maria. So hello. Dee says, I think the deeper is actually empathy. Could be. Kiki says, some guys love a soft touch with fingernails. It's true. It's all truth. All truth there. AJ says, sometimes those things don't work in long distance relationships. What do you do then? Well, what exactly is not working in your long distance relationship there, AJ? Let us know and we can talk about it. Lots of people get it. Carol says, I have a question. My husband committed adultery. How can I ever find out why? How can you find out why? Well, Carol, we'd need a lot more information about what's going on with you and how long you guys have been together. But it usually, it's difficult to know why, right? Like the only real person that's ever going to know that question is the answer to that question is him. And so you can ask him if you want to and have a real conversation with him, and he will tell you, which will give you clues to what happened. However, what you've learned here is that he has a pattern, and it's something that will come back up if you're ever back in a situation where he's feeling that way. So the number one reason why men cheat in relationships is because of a lack of passion, right? A lack of polarity. So there's a lack of polarity. So he doesn't feel excitement anymore. He starts feeling like it's dull and boring. He's bored out of his mind with the relationship. And eventually he ends up going and cheating. That's not an excuse for him to do that, right? Obviously, he's doing that because his patterns and his feelings of what he wants in the moment overstep any kind of values or healthy values that he has. And so his values are that if he's feeling a certain way in the relationship, he's going to look for that excitement or connection or whatever it is that he wasn't getting in the relationship outside of the relationship. And so instead of asking, why is he doing that? What you should be asking yourself is, what do you really want? And looking at the world of what do you really want, you should ask yourself if your husband's actually going to give you what you want or not. And whether because what's going to happen in the future if you stay with your husband is that at some point you might slip again, and he might not be getting his emotional need of whatever it was, probably excitement and variety and passion, being met. And then he's going to start looking for it outside again. And that's just normal. I mean, there are things that you can do to kind of protect against that and, have him start communicating with you and make it okay for him to communicate with you when he's kind of losing those emotional needs of his, so that and you can rebuild and rekindle that kind of passion or excitement in the relationship. But now you know what his pattern is, and now you know that what he's willing to do, and you have to question whether this is really the marriage that you want to be in or not, since he's already broken the vows and shown you that if he has problems in the relationship, instead of working them out with you or breaking things off with you, he's going to find that within another person. So I hope that helps you, Carol. Might be a better question to be asking there. So Verinda says, but would doing all this for an emotionally, romantically unavailable person be worth it? Would it change the situation? No, absolutely not. It's not going to change the situation at all, right? Because why are they emotionally unavailable? The reason they're emotionally unavailable is because they have pain. They have pain from their past, and they're dragging that pain into the present moment. And in the present moment, they're trying to protect themselves. And the way that they do that is by shutting the flow of emotions off, right? They're taking the hose of emotions, and they're putting a kink in it like that. And they're stopping the flow of emotion from coming to them. And so being all these things and trying to, be the perfect woman for this guy who's not there for you isn't going to work, right? There are other reasons why guys might be emotionally unavailable. It could be that he's really stressed out at work, or he's got other priorities that take precedent over you and being in a relationship with you. But what you want to ask yourself, Verinda, again, is coming from this qualification frame that we were talking about earlier. where you're coming from a pattern of a high value woman, where you are qualifying to see if people are fitting, if guys are fitting the mold of the kind of guy that's going to take you to the promised land of the relationship that you want to be in. And if they're not, then they are weeding themselves out of being in a relationship with you. And that's the mindset that you need to come with to these things. And so a lot of the problems that we run into with a lot of the women who come to me is they're like, oh, well, there's this guy that I have feelings for, and he's broken in 30 different ways, right? How do I pick up all the pieces and put Humpty Dumpty back together again? And the answer is that you don't. The answer is that he has to put himself back together and heal and move forward, or change priorities and get to a space where he can be in a relationship and date you. And if he's not doing that, you should be dating other people. And he shouldn't be the focus of your life. He can be a person that's potentially in your life. And if he gets himself together, that might be somebody that you want to be with. But you want to question, why am I trying to get after this guy that's unavailable? Why, am I, stuck on this guy who isn't going to bring me to the relationship that I want? And instead say, the relationship that I want is far more important than this guy. And so he either has to step his game up immediately, or I'm going to find another dude who's going to take me to the relationship that I want to be in. And if you come from that space, all of a sudden, what you should start thinking is, and start feeling is, this guy is doing all these things and he's not available for me. And that's a big turnoff. And I want something that's exciting, that's bringing me to the relationship that I want to have, instead of how do I fix and mold this guy. And so my suggestion, Verinda, is that you shift your mindset. And will it fix the guy? No. Will it fix what it is that you're doing so that you actually get the relationship that you want, whether it's with this guy or some other guy? Absolutely. And he's far more likely to step up to the plate when he realizes that he's going to lose you if he doesn't get his act together and figure himself out. Does that mean he will? No. But it's better than fighting and clawing and manipulating and cajoling your way into making him the perfect man, taking a bunch of tape and taking his arm and wrapping it up, and then his other arm falls off, and you take that one, you wrap it up with tape, and it's a nightmare. And you're just doing that, and he's trying to walk, and his limbs are falling all over the place. Just stop it, Verinda. Just stop it. Just stop it. So Jody says, I have been using your advice in my relationship of 8 months and it's going great. Thank you. Well, you are absolutely welcome. And I am glad that it's going great. So congratulations, Jody. You rock. You are awesome, Jody. Way to go. Softness. I love that. And I love that deep voice. It gets to my soul. All right. Mary says, why would a man ask for your number and then not call you? There's a ton of reasons. There's one is that he could be practicing. So a lot of guys, they might practice getting numbers from women because they don't know how to, right? And they are trying to develop that skill, right? Because for most men, one of their biggest challenges is getting to a relationship. For a lot of men, I mean, there's millions and millions of men who have no idea how to get into a relationship with a woman, right? For women, it's not as difficult to get into some kind of romantic situation for a guy. But for guys, for a huge number of guys, it's nearly impossible for them. And so they have to practice the skill of talking to women, getting women's phone numbers, going on dates with women before they can even eventually get to the ability of having a relationship with a woman. So it couldn't be that he's practicing. It could be that he's just trying to be nice because he knew that it was kind of an awkward situation for him not to do it. And so he did it, but, he didn't really like you that much in the first place, but he did it just because he didn't want to hurt your feelings in the moment. It could be that he really liked you in the moment, but he's got issues or other things going on or other priorities or other stuff. And so he doesn't contact you at all. It could be a whole host of different things and 99% of them have nothing to do with you. And the small percentage that do have something to do with you, are already over. And so it's not anything to worry about. And so if you give a guy your number, my suggestion is that you don't get overly caught up in whether he's contacting you or not. And so what it sounds like to me is that you're probably, I don't know this because I'd need more information about who you are and what you're doing, but you want to be in a world of abundance where you're dating multiple people. And if a guy shows up and disappears, it's hardly even a part of your radar. It's hardly even something that you notice because you've got so many other things going on and you have other options of men who want to court you and be with you. And so, Mary, there's a lot of different reasons why that could happen. And most of them have nothing to do with you and don't really matter all that much at all. So let's see here. Nancy says, I would want him to remember that I'm worth it. Yeah, that's right. That is right. How I made him feel. Yep. We're answering the question, what would you want a man to remember from going on a date with you? What would you want him to remember? Ari says, what if a man is unstable in terms of career or distracted by so many things going on, his issues, other girls, and pulls away? How should I cope with it? Well, there's a lot of different ways to cope with it. One is by making sure that you're loving yourself and you're taking care of yourself and you're connecting with yourself. Another is making sure that you have an abundance of connection around you. So being connected with friends and family, being connected with your passions and your hobbies, being connected with the world around you, nature, whatever ways that you feel connected, making sure that you're getting your feelings of significance from other things and being able to shift your focus over to other things that make you feel significant and whole and worthy and like you're a strong, confident, worthy woman and human being. Having an abundance of options is another thing that you can do where you have other guys that you're dating and connecting with. And so like what I was talking about earlier, it's one of those things where, ideally you're dating multiple guys, up to 3 is usually the best. And these are quality men that you're dating. And so, yeah, maybe it sucks if one guy kind of disappears because he's distracted by his issues and other girls and pulling away. But, if a guy's distracted with his career and his issues and other girls, he's probably not the best guy for you to be with, right? And so another thing that you can do is start finding all the reasons why it would be a bad thing to be with this person, right? And finding the evidence for that. Because what a lot of people do, a lot of women do, is they'll have this idea in their mind of what if things would have worked out together, right? And you basically just end up torturing yourself when you're doing that. And so you should stop doing any of that kind of stuff and start focusing on self-love, start focusing on valuing yourself, start focusing on creating connection and finding places in the world where you're receiving connection and love and feelings of significance and worthiness and certainty. That's what you want to do. That's what you want to do. And if you want, you can come and check out my event this weekend, this Sunday that I have. Go to MatthewCoast.com and you can join the event there. And we're going to have an event about how to reconnect with a guy who's disappeared or pulled away or even an ex. And I'm giving you a three-step sequence of texting, how to text message your way back into a connection and rekindle a connection with a guy. And so if you want to try to rekindle things with him, you can always go and check that out. And I'll be discussing more about what's going on with you, Ari, in that event. So go and check that out. Go and check that out. Go and check it out. Go and check it out. Joe says, how to not be ignored. Well, homeless people on the street have been trying to figure this one out for a long, long time now. And many of them will do circus tricks, and they'll, like run around and dance and wash people's windows and, get in front of you really close and do a whole bunch of things. And they still haven't been able to figure out how to make sure that they don't get ignored by people. And so my suggestion is that you stop worrying about getting ignored by someone and start determining whether being ignored is in alignment with the kind of relationship that you want to have with someone. And so if somebody's ignoring you, that should be a cue in your mind to go, oh, okay, I need to go somewhere else because this person doesn't value me. And I only want to go to places where I'm being treated like $1 million, not where I'm being treated like, discarded trash or somebody that should be ignored or anything like that. And so what you want to do, Joe, is start changing the way that you believe about yourself, changing the way that you value yourself. There's something that I have that I call the Queen's Mantra, and it goes like this. It goes, I am valuable, I'm worthy, I deserve to be cherished. I'm valuable, I'm worthy, I deserve to be cherished. I'm valuable, I'm worthy, I deserve to be cherished. And every time you say the Queen's Mantra, you say it 3 times, right? You want to emotionalize it, and you want to find evidence for it, and you want to repeat it over and over and over again until you really get it into your heart that you are a valuable and worthy and worthwhile human being, Joe, who deserves to have a human being in your life, in a relationship with you, who doesn't ignore you, who treats you like a queen. And if you're not being treated that way, that you communicate that, it's when that person does, if that person does end up reaching back out to you, just letting that person know that what they did wasn't cool with you and that you're going to be going on your way. And, if they want you, then they have to get their act together and figure themselves out and start treating you like the worthy human being that you are. Start treating you like $1 million and stop treating you like somebody who can be ignored and still have their attention on you, right? So if they ignore you, you need to cut their ability to have access to you off. You need to start valuing your time, your attention, your emotions, your body, and who you are to the point that you feel that it's sacred. And him ignoring you is desecrating a sacred place. And when somebody desecrates a sacred place, you remove them from that place. And that's what you want to do, is remove him from that place unless he's willing to treat you like you're sacred. I hope that helps you there, Joe. Stefania says, question, how do you let a guy know you're interested without coming across too easy and without being put in a friend zone? Well, I'm kind of curious how you're coming across right now. The best indication of showing a guy that you're interested is having some investment in him, right? Like reaching out to him or telling him you like something about him, giving him some kind of compliment, something like that. But the problem isn't letting a guy know that you're interested in him. That's not the problem. Because if you let him know that you're interested in him and he's interested in you, he's not going to put you in the friend zone and he's not going to think that you're too easy. What you need to do instead is start connecting with him. Start focusing on building connections with men. Because once you start building a connection with a man and start growing that connection with a man, what's going to end up happening is he's going to start feeling more and more and more attracted to you. And so there has to be some attraction there initially. in order to build the attraction. Otherwise, you can't build on nothing. You have to build on something. But once that does happen, you can build on it. And the way that you do that is by making him feel really, really good when he's around you, and then pulling yourself away and giving him that space, because it's in that space that he starts thinking about you and remembering you and missing you and wishing that he was closer to you and thinking, why do I like her so much? Why do I keep thinking about her? And then when you see him again, you connect with him again, and it just builds and builds and builds over time. And then he's going to be chasing you and talking to you and connecting with you and doing things to be around you. And you don't have to worry as much about showing him that you're interested, although you do want to do that. But when you do that, it won't matter, and he won't put you in the friend zone, and you won't come across as too easy, because he's going to think that you're really, really awesome and that he wants to have an amazing connection with you, and he's going to want to be around you all the time. And none of that stuff is going to matter anymore, because he won't be thinking. He won't be thinking about that. He'll be feeling from his heart that he wants to be around you and connected to you and gobble you up and, hold you and kiss you all over the place. I hope that makes sense for you. Stefania. So Karen says, I am a touchy-feely person and love touch. Not everyone is okay with that. I know. I know. So I always hesitate when I feel the urge to touch someone on the arm or the hand, etc. How do you manage not offending someone and still knowing when you can and should touch? Well, with a lot of guys, what they're looking for is they're looking for permission. And so there's a woman that came to me who was asking me about this guy who was, she kept going on dates with this guy and he wasn't making any moves on her, right? And she was like, do you think he likes me? And he was like driving a long way to go and see her. And I was like, yes, he absolutely likes you. He's driving a long way to see you, and he's taking you out on dates, and he's paying for everything. He likes you, right? And she's like, well, why doesn't he make any moves on me? And I'm like, well, it's because he's scared of making moves on you. And so what you have to do is let him know that it's okay. And the way that you do that is by just giving him little things, right? It's a tease, right? What is a tease? It's when you give something and you pull it away. That's what teasing is you give something and then you pull it back. And so in this situation, you're talking about touch. And so if you touch somebody on the hand, like it's totally appropriate for most women to do this. And it's not even necessarily a romantic thing, but it opens up the world of touch to different people. And there's a bunch of different places that you can touch people where it's okay to touch them. And if they want to touch you back, it will make them feel like it's okay to touch you. And so you want to do very neutral places, like on the hand, but you want to do it just briefly, right? Like you touch them on the hand and then you let go, right? You're not lingering, touching and holding and deeply looking him in the eyes, right? You're not doing any of that stuff on your first touching with a guy. You're just touching him lightly and letting go. You're just light, soft touch and pulling back. Or you can touch him on the shoulder, right? A really fun way to do it is you're walking by a guy and you like touch him on the shoulder and you like just pull your hand across the back of his shoulder and then just pull it off, right? So you're like walking by him and you like touch him like that or touch him like that, and then you let go. Or if you want to be even more neutral, you can just touch him on the shoulder or just touch him really lightly on like the small of his back or even between his shoulder blades, and just touch him really quickly and then let go. And if you do that a couple of times, it'll send him signals that it's okay, right? When I told this woman about this, I was like, here's all you have to do. Just go up next time you go on a date with them and just touch him on the hand and just really quickly and then just pull it off. And what she did was she touched him and she was like, Matt, you're right. Like I did that. And then all of a sudden he like pulled his chair closer to me and he was like getting close and talking to me and doing all this stuff. And so it can be a little bit risky to touch somebody for the first time. And at the same time, you can touch them in very neutral places and it's not a big deal. And if somebody's really like against it, which most guys won't be, if you're a woman and touching them, most guys won't be against it. You can just touch them on the shoulder or the elbow or the small of the back, or just lightly on the hand quickly and pulling it off or something like that, and it'll be fine. So I hope that makes sense, Karen. Stephanie says, Matthew, thank you for the help. Changed my outlook. Awesome. I'm glad. I'm glad. I'm glad. Melanie says, how do you know if the guy is ready to settle once you start living together? Oh, man. Man, Melanie, you know what? I'm very happy that you asked this question, because you're going to get an answer that you probably don't want to hear. And it's this. If you're giving a man everything that he wants and needs, which usually is at the sense of living with a man, you're basically giving him all the things that he wants and needs without making sure that you're getting your needs met, which sounds like you want something more than just living together. He's not going to feel any incentive. He's not going to feel any drive or desire or need to do anything more. So let's say, for instance, that you want marriage and you move in with this guy and you're living with this guy and he's getting all of his needs met of everything from you living with him. Why would he want to put a ring on your finger when he's getting all of his needs met right now? He wouldn't, is the answer. I hope that's what you're saying on the other side of the screen, is that he wouldn't, because that's the answer. He wouldn't. There's no reason for him to do that. And so you don't want to, if you're not getting your needs met, you're not getting all your needs met, you don't want to move in with a guy. And if you already moved in with a guy, which is what it sounds like from this situation, Melanie, is that you want to move out. That's what you want to do. You want to let him know what it is that you want. You have to communicate it. If you're living with a guy at this point, he should know what you want. You guys should have real conversations with each other about what's going on, where this is going, all that kind of stuff. You shouldn't be living with a guy if you don't know that. If you don't know that, you shouldn't be living with a guy. And if he tells you anything but, let me go run out to the store and buy a ring and put it on your finger, what you need to do is pack all your stuff up and move out. That's it. That's what you need to do. And let him know that you want what it is that you want. We're just going to assume that it's marriage right now. And that you're not going to live with somebody unless you guys are moving in that direction. And my suggestion is that you don't move in with a guy without getting a ring if you want marriage. That's my suggestion. So I know that sucks to hear if you want marriage and you already moved in with a guy and you're hoping that all of a sudden he's going to switch his mindset, but there's no reason for him to give you what it is that you want if he's getting everything that he wants, and there's no incentive for him to move forward with anything. So you need to stop giving him what he wants and let him know that what it is that you want. And if he decides that he wants to give that to you, that's great. And if not, then you need to pull yourself away from the situation until he either does or somebody else does. That's what you need to do, Melanie. That's what you need to do. That's what you need to do. Zalima says, hi, Matthew. You are so great. Always on point. I've been dating this guy for 4 months. Well, I appreciate you saying that. I've been dating this guy for 4 months. He has been telling me that he doesn't know what he wants. He is 54, widow, says he doesn't want his daughter to know me yet because she doesn't want to show me to her yet, as he isn't sure of what he wants, not sure what to do. Should I keep handing on and see what happens? Well, so they've done studies on this, Zalima, and they found that men unanimously know by the 6-month mark exactly what it is that they want. And what your guy is showing you right now, I mean, it's only been 4 months, but that's a pretty decent amount of time. And he's popping up some red flags, right? He's popping up a red flag, and it says bad frog. He's saying he's a bad frog. He's a bad frog right now. And you want a good frog. And so bad frog says, this is ridiculous, isn't it? Bad frog says, I don't know what I want. I'm not going to let you see my daughter because I don't know what I want right now. And so you, in response to that, should be pulling back and going, okay, Mr. Bad Frog, well, I'm going to continue dating people and find somebody who's sure about me. And when you figure out that you're sure about me and you turn yourself into a good frog, then we can continue on all this stuff and all that kind of nonsense. And you've probably, my guess is that you guys have been physically intimate and a whole bunch of other things. And you know, it's one of those things. One of my suggestions is that you don't, is that you start finding out that kind of stuff early on, right? Because if you would have asked him, you know, date 3, date 4, date 5, what it is that he wants, he would have told you that he's unsure. And, you know, that's okay. But when you hear that, you go, oh, okay, he's unsure. We can date, but I'm not going to get overly invested. I'm not going to get attached. I'm not going to, you know, put all my eggs in this, you know, this bad frog basket and end up getting hurt because I'm hanging out with a bad frog, you know? And instead you want to continue to date frogs, and hopefully you'll find yourself a good frog who turns into a prince and knows what he wants and looks at you and says, Zalima, you are that one woman that I've been waiting for my entire life. And I think that you're beautiful and amazing and gorgeous. And I couldn't imagine living my life without you. And so I want it to be just us. I want you to meet my family. I want you to, you know, be a part of my life. I want to be a part of your life. And I want it to be just us doing this together, riding off into the sunset. And if a guy's not saying that, that's fine. But he shouldn't be getting good frog privileges when he's acting like a bad frog. So I hope that good frog, bad frog metaphor makes sense for you there, Zalima. And if anybody's interested in checking out my event this weekend, go visit MatthewCoast.com. It's an event. I'm going to give you a 3-step text formula for reconnecting with a guy that's either pulled away or disappeared or an ex of yours. And this is the most powerful way that I've worked with hundreds of thousands of women from all over the world, all different ages. And I found that this is, we've used lots of different things to reconnect with guys. And this is by far the best one that we've used. And so I'm going to be revealing that this weekend on Sunday. It's a 1-day, 2-hour seminar event that you can sign up for. Go to MatthewCoast.com and check it out. Thank you, everybody, for being with us here. It is an honor and a privilege for me to be a part of your journey. So thank you so much for trusting me to help you. And I will see you again. Hopefully I'll see you at this event this weekend. If you're watching the replay of this, check out MatthewCoast.com. We're going to be putting other events and stuff up there that you can go and check out. And I will speak with you again soon. And always remember, you are worth it. Have a great morning, great night, great evening, great day, wherever you are in the world.